Welcome to U Sports. I'm Sarah McIntosh.
And I'm Marcus Brooks. Today we have results from women's tennis and softball. But first, the women's basketball team made history this season. The Coyotes stormed to 31 straight wins. Gina Hoffman earned All-American honors. Head coach Chad Lavin wrapped up his USD career with a 33-2 record this season. However, the Coyotes would come up short against Northern Kentucky in the national title game. Let's see how USD reached the championship game. In the quarterfinals, the Coyotes went up against Washburn. The Lady Blues were ranked number 24 in the nation. USD won in a thriller, 85-80 in double overtime. All-American Gina Hoffman led the Coyotes with 27 points. The next night, USD took on undefeated and number 1 ranked Delta State. The Coyotes used clutch shooting by freshman Amber Hegg to capture the 68-58 upset. USD moved into the national title against Northern Kentucky. The Coyotes led most of the way in the championship game, but the Norse of NKU staged a comeback in the last 5 minutes. Northern Kentucky erased a 9-point deficit and won the title 63-58. For more on women's basketball, let's go to Amy Mart with this week's U Sports guest.
I'm here with head women's basketball coach Chad Lavin. Coach Lavin, just having concluded a history-making season with the Coyotes, what are some characteristics about this team that you'll never forget?
Well, I'll never forget how tough they are. I could not even explain to you the situations we were in and how they persevered. And then added to that is how smart they are. You know, I'm not talking about academic smarts because they're off the chart in that respect. But I'm just talking about basketball. Basketball smarts, they had things that most teams that I've coached didn't have, and it carried them. Toughness and smartness got them as far as they got.
So, Coach, you've received various coaching awards throughout the years. How would you describe your coaching style?
Well, I think the thing to remember about coaching awards, those are awards for your program. You know, they don't just, they're about your kids, they're about your staff, they're about your marketing people that are bringing people to the stands, because a coaching award is usually based on how many wins you get, and all those people affect our wins. So my coaching style is probably a little different than most, but you know, I'm very demanding, but at the same time, I'd say the one thing I'm really conscious of is my kids are going to get a college experience. I am not going to have a lot of rules. They're going to get to decide what's bad or good, and I think that leads a lot to how they're going to react after college.
Now, you've just concluded a season that the fans will never forget, but next up is retirement. So what does retirement hold for you?
You know, the hardest thing in this retirement for me is missing those kids, and that'll be extremely difficult for me.
Sure. Well, thanks a lot for talking with us, Coach, and congratulations on a great season and a great career.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks. I'm Amy Mart for U Sports.
The softball team traveled to Omaha last weekend to compete in the UNO Classic. On the first day, USD fell to Southwest Minnesota State 4-3 in 8 innings. Also, the Coyotes lost to Northwest Missouri State 4-1. The second and final day, USD played 3 games. In the first game, the Coyotes lost to Wayne State 8-0 after being shut out by Truman State in the second game of the day. The Coyotes finally reached the win column with a 1-0 victory over Washburn. Overall, USD is now 8-12 on the season. The women's tennis team hosted Morningside and Northern State last weekend. The match with Morningside was the first ever women's tennis competition held in the Dakota Dome. The Coyotes breezed to victory in each of the matches and won 9-0 over the Mustangs. Against Northern State, USD would keep things rolling with another 9-0 verdict. The win over Northern State tied the USD school record for wins in the season. USD is now 16-6 overall. The Coyotes will host Fort Hays State and Minnesota Duluth on Saturday.
For more on spring sports, let's go to Sports Director Ryan Moore with this week's edition of Sports Shorts.
Now that the hoopla of USD basketball is behind us, it's time to turn our attention to the Coyote spring sports. What's important to remember here is this is the final season of any kind for USD in the Division II ranks. There are many things to look forward to this spring for Coyote athletics. One example is the USD track and field team. The women won the indoor conference title. Both the men and women had a national indoor champion, Terry Liggins in the 60-meter hurdles and Emma Erickson in the 800-meter run. The women are 4-time defending NCC outdoor champions. Adding to the excitement is that after the NCC outdoor meet on May 10th, the North Central Conference will be no more. The NCC has been a great conference over the years. For the time being, let's appreciate USD's final run in Division II before we get all wrapped up in the Division I hype. After the initial bliss of being in Division I, I have a feeling this kind of excitement over athletics at USD will be hard to come by, at least for a while. I'm Ryan Moore, and this is Sports Shorts.
The USD men's rugby season is underway. The team's greatest test thus far came last weekend. Players traveled to Wayne State for their annual two-day tournament, which included over 40 rugby teams. The team had its first game Saturday morning against the Omaha Shamrocks. USD lost 17-0. On Sunday morning, USD was looking for revenge against NDSU. They defeated them in a high-scoring battle with a score of 33-29. The rugby team hosts its first home game of the season Saturday afternoon at 1 against longtime rival SDSU.
That's all for you sports. Stay with us. Out and About and commentary are up next.